Thank you so much, Magnus. It's an honor to have you here today in Germany. You're tackling a world which is still at a huge crisis, probably the biggest problem of humanity. More than 800 million people are starving, and you're creating solutions every day. You're Magnus, the founder of Mary's Meals. For many decades, you have been tackling starvation with a very easy solution, which is school meals. First, thank you so much for everything you did and the inspiration you are for a better future, and that we as humanity can create zero hunger. I'm very happy to have you here. Honor. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, and it's great to meet you as well. And thank you for all your great work too.
Yeah, I have some questions for you. So, what motivates you the most when you think about your decades of engagement? What is your inner energy which is never going out?
It's still from the beginning this sense of outrage that any child in this world of plenty would be hungry, would go without food for a day, or maybe miss school because of hunger. In this world where there's enough, you know. So I never lose that sense of outrage. That this is ridiculous. This is so stupid at one level that any child would be hungry. So that never leaves me. And then every time I have an encounter with another child in that situation, you know, it revives that energy, that desire to go forward.
So there was never a moment to give up?
No, really, never any real consideration of. So I just feel a sense of gratitude that I have the possibility to do this every day. I feel very grateful.
I can feel this. And what have been the most profound experience?
I mean, so many. I think one of the things about getting older now is the possibility to meet young adults who tell me, without your meals in school, I might not be alive today. Without those meals, I certainly never would have gone to school. And then to see that they are now in paid employment or further education, or in different ways leaders in their communities, and you just see that little thing we did, that little thing by providing the meal, was enough to change everything in their lives. And so you see this thing really does work that we do.
Yeah, and this thing you have to explain. You created a very easy solution to provide school meals for children, but explain it shortly.
Yeah. So back in 2002, I was in Malawi in Southern Africa, and I met this family. The father had just died and the mother was dying, and she had her children with her, 6 children. And I began talking to her oldest son. He was called Edward. And at one point in the conversation, I said, Edward, what's your hope? What do you hope for in life? And he said, I'd like to have enough food to eat, and I'd like to go to school one day. That was it. That was all his ambition at 14 years of age. So that encounter with Edward really sparked this mission. It led me to think more about this cycle of poverty that millions of children are trapped in. They're hungry, so they can't go to school and learn. They're begging, they're working, they're just trying to survive, so they miss out their education. So Mary's Meals became this simple thing of providing one meal every day in a place of education for children like Edward. So we meet the immediate need for food, but we enable them to come in and get that education, which is key.
Which in Germany we say, like, don't give the people a fish, teach them how to fish. And I think you're doing both, because these children need food, and you're enabling to empower them to learn and to grow and to create a business or whatever to feed themselves.
Exactly, and that's so important. That's exactly it. At the heart of this is we don't want those communities to be dependent on our help forever. We want them to be set free. We want them to flourish. But the starting point for that has to be children having enough to eat and having the possibility of an education, and then things can start to change. But without that, they can't.
And how many meals have you provided so far with this great community of Mary Meals supporters around the world?
We don't know exactly, but it's certainly over 3 billion meals now, because currently we're feeding nearly 2.5 million children every school day. So that number rises rapidly, but yes, it's over 3 billion, which is incredible.
Congratulations, not only to you, but to everyone who is part of the solution. That's incredible teamwork.
and that's exactly it, because this is, for me, Mary's Meals is just this incredible movement of lots of people doing what they can, lots of people who believe in this simple thing, and then they do what they can. So there's so many different ways that people are involved in this mission.
Yeah, and not only people, we are a business, we're an online shop for surplus food, surplus, like the name, it's like the sir who's providing the plus, that's the word game. And we're donating 2 meals for each order. What do you think is key in order to reach zero hunger by 2030? Like, how is it possible? It's a short time frame which we have as humanity to reach this global development goal, but I believe we can. What is your point of view?
I agree, it's certainly possible. I think there needs to be a big change, first of all, in attitude. That it's easy to state something like zero hunger, but is the international community serious about that? I'm not so sure. And so I think, first of all, there needs to be a real belief that it's possible, like you hold, like I hold. We know that's true. It's not just a nice words. It's real. It's absolutely possible that every child in this world should eat every day in school. So for me, clearly that would be my suggested starting point. Why can't we make a pledge in this world that at least every child will receive a meal every day? That's so possible when you look at how much money we spend on so many other things in comparison.
Yeah, I looked into the numbers, like in Germany alone, 1,200 billions we are spending as a state entirely, including military, education, infrastructure, everything. We are giving some billions, so not even 1%. To people in need around the world. So it's ridiculous, and now they even want to short it by 40%. How do you think, is it possible to engage these politicians, to engage the big ones who decide which checks to write to whom, how to engage not only people, and you have a great community around the world who is donating, NGOs, working like you on this issue, but how we get the big boys, which the big pockets or the states, to commit to this cause and take it seriously.
I mean, I wish I knew the answer to that, the simple answer.
I thought you have it.
I'm afraid I don't. But I do believe, yes, when there's opportunities for us to engage with politicians and various leaders, we take that opportunity. But for me, our work's more about building this movement of people, because I think sooner or later, if enough people believe this is possible, if enough people are acting and doing what they can, then the politicians have to take notice. So for us, at least in our particular work, it's about inviting everyone in, helping people understand they personally can do something about this. Because sometimes there can be a risk that we think that we just sit here and point to the politicians, or we sit to the point at the very wealthy people, but we don't do anything. But we can all do something.
And we can do. In Germany, it's 22 euros to enable one child to get every day in school for 1 year a meal.
Yes.
Which is like a ticket for the cinema.
Exactly. Which which underlines what we're talking about. That it's absurd that a child. Today thousands of children have died of hunger-related
every 6
causes.
seconds.
Yeah, something like that. And it costs 22 euros to feed a child for a whole year in school in Mary's Meals. This is ridiculous.
So I hear you saying that we need more people who are engaging, who are donating, who are doing their work, like voluntary work, etc., so that the masses, the people, the population raises up this topic, and then the politicians will act upon the will of the people.
Yes, I think so. And because meanwhile, we can't wait. We can't wait for the politicians. The children can't wait, so we're not going to wait. So I hope ultimately that does start to influence the politics, how people think about this when they see so many people care, because that's my experience. I think most people in this world, when they learn about the situation and what's possible, then most people want to help. Most people want to share 22 euros if they have 22 euros to share. Most people are happy to do that if that will feed a child for a year. So that's a lot of what our work is about getting out there, because there's some myths, isn't there, that I'm sure you encounter too, that people have these ideas like there's not enough food in the world. There's more than enough food in the world, so we have to do that work of explaining to people what's possible.
Yeah, I'm vegan since 2010, and 70% of the entire agricultural land currently used by humanity is used by the animal industry.
Yeah.
50% of all grains, 95% of all soybeans is fed to animals.
Yeah.
So how do you think about this correlation of saying we have a priority to feed animals instead of our brothers and sisters?
Yeah, well, you could look at that another way. I recently calculated that we spend more on dogs in the UK, just in the UK, than it would cost to provide a meal for every child in the world at school.
That's
all
shocking.
the children who currently don't have a meal at school, I should say. It
Yeah.
is shocking. That's just in one country. That's just in the UK. So I've got nothing against. I have a dog. I feed my dog. That's okay. But again, it helps us understand the scale of what we're choosing to spend money on versus the problem that we're trying to solve. Because it feels now, that's the danger with something like the zero hunger aspiration. If we don't take that seriously and people don't see progress, because at the moment we're going in the wrong direction, we're going backwards against that goal. There are more hungry people now than there have been for many decades. That people start to think this is hopeless, it's just fairy tale, but it's not a fairy tale. We have to show it's possible.
Yeah, you created a solution, and what I find astonishing is 11 cents is the cost, and 90% from what I heard of every donation to Mary's Meals goes to the children. How is it possible that you created a solution which is so affordable? For sure, 11 cents in Africa is so much more than here, but how did this came up, and how can you provide this? Other NGOs, they charge 30, 50 or even more cents. What is your magic there? Or,
Well, I think there's a couple of key things. I think first is that volunteer bit. Like we have this huge movement of people who are giving their time freely. So it's important to explain where we serve the meals. All of those meals are cooked and served by local volunteers. So people who are very often living in poverty themselves, and yet they're choosing to give this gift of their time. So in Malawi alone, we have over 50,000 volunteers who cook the food. So you can imagine how different the cost would be immediately if they weren't volunteering their time. And then, another big part of it is we really believe in, as much as possible, buying the food we serve locally. So we're helping the local farmers to grow more food and to know that they have a year-round local market, because that's part of the long-term solution. This can't be dependent forever on us supporting this from the outside. So procuring food locally in country at scale is also very inexpensive. So they would be two of the big drivers of why we can do this so cheaply. When I heard about Mary's Meals, I fell in love directly, and I really believe also your focus of saying we do school meals, and that's a very simple, powerful solution. I heard people telling me, but white saviorisms, we white dudes come again, or dudes, women and men, and we help and we donate, but you have heard this. What is... Yes. I have, and I understand some of it, that that we need to be very careful about that. That's I'm not really so interested in colours of people's skin, but I am very interested in to make sure that you always respect the dignity of whatever community you're working with. So for us, that means the project is genuinely owned by the local community. So they organise themselves day to day to cook and serve the food, and we're playing our part by providing the food. So it's always about empowering the local community and respecting their dignity. So I think that's really important, and I understand. There's very sensitive and difficult historical things at play here. Those of us coming from countries that once colonised the countries we're still serving meals in. That of course is complex and needs care and sensitivity. But I don't think there's any problem with people of different races, of different colours of skin, walking together. In fact, I love that.
Yeah, I believe in peace. I believe that we can reach this goal as humanity, as same as zero hunger. Last message to the community. You can speak into the camera. If the whole world would listen to you, Magnus, what would you say?
Just to believe it's possible for us to solve hunger. there shouldn't be hunger in this world of plenty. There certainly shouldn't be children, millions of children who today are hungry. And all of us can do something. We don't need to wait for the politicians or for someone else to do it. We can do it. Even if it feels like a small thing to us, it can be a very, very big thing to the child who has nothing today, who is hungry. So please, let's all just do our bit.
Thank you so much, Magnus, for your work, for your endurance, and for your love for our brothers and sisters. It's an honor to work together, and let's create a world where everyone has enough food to eat and can thrive.
It's a joy to meet you too, Raphael. God bless you. Thank you for everything you're doing and for your support of our work.
My pleasure.
Lovely to meet you.
Thank you.